What up, y'all? Sit back, relax. We about to get it popping, y'all. Non-stop. I drop at the top. 1, 2, 3. It's Gift. You know who it be. Ha, it's me. Yo, we gonna get started, man. I'm just making sure we good to go, man. Y'all sit back. I'ma tap in a minute, all right? Peace. What's happening, good people? It's Gift here for Pay Us No Mind. And today, we're talking about Spotify getting sued. I mean, like, really. The National Music Publishers Association has filed suit against Spotify. They going to court, like, for real. And it's all due to Spotify slashing royalties for songwriters. Like, we already know that they came through and slashed royalties for...
The mic's off.
We already know that Spotify came through and slashed royalties for recording artists and labels when they did the whole 1,000 stream monetization threshold thing. But now songwriters too. So we're going to dive into that, as well as how Spotify wants to be radio and the differences between Spotify and radio and how radio pays versus Spotify and all of that good stuff, because that allows us to further understand this whole lawsuit thing and why Spotify even feels like it's entitled to do these things in regards to monetization. Now, you guys know how this go, right? I run my mouth about the topic at hand for the first 15, 20 minutes. Then we get into the live chat where everybody get to ask questions and all of that good stuff, man. You know, I'm going to check the system, make sure we good to go. Then we're going to dive into the topic at hand. All right, good people. You know, but first, I'm going to let y'all check this message from my sponsor, man. Shout out to DPM. Plus distribution to specialty stores, including Audio Mac and SoundCloud, YouTube and social media monetization, music video distribution, and publishing administration, all in one destination. Want to know more about DPM distribution? Click the link in the description box. Yeah, man. Now, for those that don't know, right? Recently, I went out and created like a digital distribution calculator that allows artists to see like their return on investment when they use a distributor. I'm gonna let y'all peep it right quick, because the wild thing about me, what I did was, right, I created it and then I did the whole thing over. So what the artists see, what happened? You guys don't see me? Yeah. So what happened was, let me delete this thing. So I created it and then I recreated it because some artists were complaining and basically saying, hey man, you know, it doesn't work on mobile and things of that nature. So I went out and recreated it to work on mobile and stuff. Matter of fact, I'll do that later. I'm not even going to hold y'all right now. You know, I'll show y'all that later. Yeah, man. Oh, this thing done. Hey, there we go. Hold on. It should come back in a minute. Just letting y'all know I'm still here. It's just some technical difficulties right quick. All right, there we go. We good. Yeah, man. So diving into the topic at hand, right? Spotify and this lawsuit. Spotify getting sued by the National Music Publishers Association and what this is all about. Now, what this is about is Spotify has decided to try to slash royalties for songwriters, basically mechanical royalties, slash it from like 15% to I think like 12%. And the justification for it is bundling services. So the rules around what these streaming platforms pay for monetization to songwriters is they have an out, basically, not an out, but a way to pay lower royalties, and that is bundling. So you see something like Amazon Prime. Now let me just check the system, see what's good right quick. Right, yeah. Yeah, so you see something like Amazon Prime, where they have the Prime service where you get 2-day shipping, and then on top of that, you got Prime Video, and then you got Amazon Prime Music Unlimited, and all of these different things that you get with that Prime service. If a company is bundling services like that, then they can pay lower royalty rates to artists because they say, hey, this is a part of something else, so it's making less money. And because it's making less money, you pay lower royalties. So what Spotify did was it took this new audiobook service that they have, where they're allowing people to stream audiobooks on Spotify, and created like another service with that specifically. Now, where the National Music Publishers Association is saying, what they're saying is effectively, that is not really a standalone service. You guys just created the audiobook service just so you could say that it's a part of a bundle and pay fewer royalties, because that's effectively what they're doing. They're saying, okay, well, we created this audiobook service, and now we're bundling that audiobook service into Spotify Premium. But the thing is that people are paying $10 for premium, the same money that they would usually pay for premium, and getting the audiobook service and the music for the same price, technically. So yeah, the National Music Publishers Association is calling BS on that, because they're like, it's not a new plan. You're not introducing a new plan where it's like how you got Disney Plus and Hulu and ESPN, and they have one price, $8 for Disney, and then they charge you like 12 or 15 or something like that for the bundle. Like, this is not what Spotify is doing. They are technically keeping the prices the same. So it's a ruse. It's just something that they're doing to slash royalties, you know? Now, here's the thing with this. So Spotify pays rights holders 70% of its revenue. That's what Spotify pays rights holders. Now, songwriters get about 20% of that revenue, and that 20% gets split between mechanicals and performance royalties. So mechanicals, you get paid about 15% of that goes to mechanical royalties. So if Spotify paid out $100 to rights holders, the songwriters would get $20, and 15 of that would go to mechanical royalties, and 5 of it would go to performance royalties, like go to ASCAP, BMI, things of that nature. You know, now this new slashing of the royalties would cut that rate, that 15%, down to about 12%. And this is what has us in court. Now, we know, right? Spotify introduced their streaming threshold that they just started activating in January, where they're like, hey, we are going to not pay any royalties for songs that generate fewer than 1,000 streams in 12 months. So technically, no revenue is generated for your first 1,000 streams. They're only paying you for the streams after that. But that rule only applies to sound recording royalties, like the royalties that you get paid by your digital distributor. They still have to pay mechanical royalties. So the royalties that you get paid by ASCAP and Song Trust and things of that nature, they still have to pay. Now this would slash even those royalties. So they technically are trying to get to a point where they pay nothing, you know, if not to all artists, to a significant portion. And the justification for that is that Spotify wants to be radio. You know, that's what Spotify wants to be. They want to be radio. So you think about commercial radio stations. Commercial radio stations pay songwriters 1.7% of their revenue. That's what radio stations pay songwriters. So whatever they earn, they take 1.7% of that and they pay it out to ASCAP or BMI or whatever have you. And that's all they pay. Now, on top of that 1.7% that radio stations pay out, they also do not pay any royalties to recording artists and record labels. So recording artists and record labels see absolutely nothing from radio airplay in the US anyway. In other countries, they call it neighboring rights. They do pay recording artists and record labels for radio airplay in foreign territories, just not in the US. It's not something that is not revenue that you get to collect in the US. You know? Now, the thing here, and why radio can pay 1.7% of its revenue to songwriters and Spotify has to pay 20% of its revenue to songwriters, and why radio can not pay recording artists and record labels anything and Spotify has to pay them around 50%, is non-interactive versus interactive. So radio is non-interactive, meaning listeners cannot fast forward, rewind, skip, play the same song over and over again. There is no on-demand playback. So they do not have like ownership level access to the music. So with radio, it is considered to drive incentive to buy. People hear a song on radio, they want ownership level access. They want to be able to put it into a playlist. They want to be able to fast forward and rewind. They want to be able to play it whenever they want, how many times they want. That's something that they want to do. And if they want to do that, then they have to go from radio to buying it somewhere on iTunes or whatever have you. Now, Spotify provides interactive access where they can rewind and fast forward and skip and play on demand. So they have ownership level access to music that, in a sense, completely eliminates incentive to buy. There is zero incentive to buy. So technically, a Spotify stream is a sale. In fact, it is counted as a sale by the RIAA. They count it as sales. Billboard, everybody counts Spotify streams as sales. So when somebody hears your song on the radio, where do they go when they like the song? To Spotify, to add it to their library or to a playlist. They're not going to iTunes to buy it and things of that nature. So yeah, interactive versus non-interactive. That is why Spotify has to pay more, because it's like you guys are eliminating incentive to buy, and now you're technically the sale. So you have to compensate artists for providing this ownership level access to music on your platform. Now, the thing here, right, is that radio justifies its rates. Radio justifies its rates. They say, okay, here's why we pay artists 1.7% or songwriters 1.7% of our revenue. And here's why we don't pay recording artists and record labels anything. Free promotion. Free promotion. That's the reason. And yeah, it's justifiable. Because it's like radio is regional. So it's like in my time, you had Hot 97 and Power 105.1, right? And those types of radio stations. Hold on, let me check. All right. So you had Hot 97 and Power 105.1 and those radio stations that came on, right? That played music. And those radio stations catered to certain areas. They catered to New York. They catered to, let's say, New Jersey, Connecticut, you know, those types of areas. And if you got your song played on Hot 97 or Power 105, basically all hip hop fans heard that song. Everybody from New York to Boston to New Jersey, you know, all hip hop fans knew that record existed. No matter what opinion they had of it, whether they liked it or not, they knew it existed. And what that did was it reached people in mass. So if people liked the song, if it hit, then you got requests in mass. People called that radio station and requested it in mass. When it came to a street buzz, people were talking about it on the streets in mass because it was concentrated to particular areas. So that's radio. Radio blasts the song out to a whole bunch of people at the same exact time in a centralized area where everybody hears it and everybody that listens to the radio knows it exists. So I can go and call up a friend and say, hey man, you heard that song that played on Hot 97? And he could be like, yeah man, that was hot. And we could have a conversation about it. Now, that is the effectiveness of radio. And because of that, venues and things of that nature can book based on radio airplay. They say, okay, well, which songs is getting radio in heavy rotation? These songs are in heavy rotation. We're going to book these acts because we know everybody in our neighborhood or in this area knows of these acts and probably love it because they're in heavy rotation. So that means they're in demand. And if the song is in demand, then people probably want to see them live. So they could book, so you get bookings. And also with radio, it's a level of prestige that's attached to it where you get song on radio and you become somewhat of a celebrity. People are like, oh man, I heard you on the radio. It has a different ring to it. Now, Spotify, and what happens with Spotify is that Spotify recommends songs based on your personal listening history. So I stream music on Spotify. Spotify says, okay, Gift, based on what you stream, here's this song that we think you're going to like. Nobody else I know knows this song exists. So there's nobody for me to talk to about this song. I can't have a conversation about it. My friends don't know about it. I effectively have to push the song to my friends. I could text them, and say, hey man, check out this new song I discovered. But maybe they don't check their text messages. Maybe they ignore that part where they're like, yo, I am busy at work. I can't listen to this now. And by the time they get off work, they don't forgot about it, So it's a different thing. So Spotify is solitary. Individual people catch the song, but it's also a matter of, in some sense, it's like basically creating a situation where songs get added to your personal rotation. So radio is like you get on radio and it's to an effect spray and pray, because radio doesn't focus on who's going to like the song. Radio is just like, it plays and whoever's listening to radio catches it. Spotify is like, here's this person, we think he's gonna like it, here it is, you know. And then if I like it and I actually listen to it and engage with it, then it gets added to my personal rotation and they start recommending more music from that artist. So then you have retention. Spotify is helping the artist retain me as a listener, and I keep getting fed that artist's music over and over and over again. Now, what the artist can do with that comes down to access to information, like where the listeners are, and leveraging that, you know. And even venues can leverage that too, to say this person has 10,000 monthly listeners here. So that's where Spotify argues that their value come in. Hey man, listen, we are providing a ton of data. We are helping artists basically do lead generation. We are finding people who are most likely to like your music. We are delivering your music to them. We are helping you retain them as customers. We are providing the information that allows you to see where your customers are, what their consumption patterns are. It's like, why are we giving you that information and providing this service to you and having to pay you top dollar at the same time? You know, now they're not going to come out and say that, because people would be like, well, your whole platform is dependent on music. But I'm sure that's how they are kind of feeling. And to a great effect, they are selling it as a service, right? That's what Marquee is. That's what a lot of these new tools that they're introducing are. They're sales, they're basically products that they're selling to you. But on top of that, yeah, they want to pay less too, because they're like, hey man, we're providing a service. Now, are they? That, I don't know, man. I don't know. So it's like, I can say, I don't really hear anybody talking about records blowing up on Spotify. Like, nobody really says, yo man, this guy dropped the song and he's now like a big name because of Spotify. I hear people talking about streams that they got from Spotify, where it's like, hey, I put my song up on Spotify, now I got 10,000 monthly listeners and 100,000 streams or whatever have you. But they're not recognizable names. I can't say that they got some massive following. I don't see them performing nowhere. I don't hear nobody talking about them or whatever have you. So people can put a song up on Spotify and get streams, but have basically no branding, like no brand awareness, like nobody knows they exist or anything to that effect. Where if like an artist takes off on TikTok or even Instagram or something to that effect, that artist has more ground effectively. Like, people know the artist's name, they know who they are, they know what they look like, they know a lot about them, you know. So it's like, yeah, streaming wise, that's where Spotify carries its value. In streams of sales, you earn revenue from them. But if the point is to leverage Spotify to drive more streams, to earn more revenue, but Spotify says that, hey, we don't want to pay revenue for these streams, and we're going to keep doing everything we can to reduce the amount of revenue that we have to pay these streams, it's like, something's not adding up there, you know? They don't want to pay for streams, but everything revolves around getting streams so you can make money, you know? And the reality of the situation is, it's a fight. And why it's a fight is because we're not going back to buying music. Nobody is going back to buying music. I tell you that, and I will reiterate that again. Nobody is going back to buying music. I do not care how many records all of these people that are telling you that you could sell music direct to fan. I don't care how much music they manage to coerce their cousins into buying from them. We are not going back to buying music. Streaming is too good of a service. It caters, it delivers all of this music straight to your door, $10 a month, unlimited access, stream what you want, how often you want. It is incomparable to digital downloads and having to flood your phone with and eat up all of this space. Nobody's going back to that. You know what I'm saying? And artists, for the most part, in the long run, you'll make more money from streams. And that's why it's such a big deal. And that's why the recording industry focuses so much on it. Because in the long run, those streams accumulate and amount to a lot of money, especially if you're being fairly compensated for the streams. And that's why the argument is fair compensation for the streams, as opposed to just cutting ties and walking away entirely. This is where the industry's going. We're not going back, you know? So yeah, we got to figure this out. Now, what the National Music Publishers Association is doing right now, like the next step for them outside of this lawsuit that they're filing, is appealing to Congress to basically alter the compulsory licenses. So right now, basically, songwriters can't negotiate rates. Rates are set by the CRB, the Copyright Royalty Board, which is like three judges that get to set the royalty rate that songwriters get paid for mechanical royalties and performance royalties. It is not a negotiated rate. So basically the songwriters and the publishers plead their case to these judges, and the streaming platforms plead their case to the judges, and the judges operate like a middleman, and they decide what's a fair rate to pay. And what the National Music Publishers Association is appealing to Congress to do is to take that away. Don't basically allow us to opt out. So it's like whatever rate is set, the mechanical licensing collective collects those royalties from Spotify and pays out to rights holders. And everybody right now is beholden to whatever the mechanical licensing collective agrees to, based on the Copyright Royalty Board and all of that stuff. And what the National Music Publishers Association wants to do is to be able to opt out of the agreement set by the Mechanical Licensing Collective and negotiate their own rate, which is a complete game changer, because that would allow them to do something like pull their music off of Spotify and say, hey, if you don't want to pay us what we're asking for, we are not going to allow you to use our music. And if that happens, yo, the gloves are off, baby. It's a whole new ball game. I mean, imagine if they were able to do that with radio. It would be, in some sense, a nightmare, because then they would be able to pull music off of radio and demand more money. So then people wouldn't be able to have free access to music at all, you know, and they could gouge radio stations, which would mean they could gouge smaller stations and stuff like that. So there is a duality to it. On one side, it's like, as a songwriter myself, you say, okay, well, it would be great to make more money and to have them be able to negotiate on my behalf and drive up my rates. But at the same time, on the other end, from the standpoint of the infrastructure that we have with music, with radio stations and access to music, it could be bad, especially for, like, let's say, independent streaming platforms, because Spotify is a mega platform, got big corporate dollars behind it. So there's a reason for them to play ball with Spotify. So they might come to Spotify and have to settle for a lower rate. Whereas, let's say a new company pops up that's offering streaming. Maybe they gouge the hell out of them and come and say, yo, give us 50%, give us 70% of your revenue, because you're small and you need our music in order to build your thing up. So we're just gonna basically abuse you. And then you have this situation where they're abusing the smaller companies and settling for less with the bigger companies, because a smaller percentage of a larger number means less money, means more money than a larger percentage of a smaller number. And you have that dynamic where they just basically choke the market and it becomes restrictive to new and developing companies, you know? So yeah, man, this is where we are with this game. Now, I'm going to tap in with you guys, see who in the building. If you in the building, just say what's up in the chat so I can shout you out and all of that good stuff, man. Yeah, man. So let me see if I can pull this thing up right quick. The calculator. It's time for the percolator. That's when I say the calculator. That's what I think. It's time for the percolator. Who remember that, man? I remember the first time I started going down to the DMV, I think it's called, right? Delaware, Maryland, Virginia. I started going to that area, man, and getting exposed to the music down there. And you go to a party and they play that, and people just get mad, amped up. Yeah, let me see. Let me see. I'm gonna put this in studio mode. Hold on, y'all. I'm trying to grab this screen capture of the royalty calculator so I can let y'all see it. So that's what I'm doing right now. All right. That's what I'm working on, if you're wondering. And I see the thunder and the rain. Bring it, what is that? Confusion to your brain. To the Jeeps, the Lex Coupes, the Beamers, and the Benz. To all my peoples and my mens. To all my ladies and my mens. Keep your head up. And to the hood, to the hood. Where is Safari? There we go. All right. Hacking songs up. All right. Here we go. All right. So this is it. This is the royalty calculator. Now, this looks a lot different than what I had before, because before I had built it in Looker Studio, which is like a data visualizer. So, I mean, that doesn't work well because you can't adapt it to mobile. You can't make it responsive, stuff like that. So what I did was I reconstructed it. I went and programmed it manually and built it out. So now you see here, you got the instructions. So it's like the video that I put up about it, you know, those instructions, it's still relevant, but everything looks different. So you got about what it does and everything, man. Then you got instructions, then you got results. Now what this allows you to do is you come here and you can select a distributor. Like you can say, okay, TuneCore. And then you can select the plan. And you can say, okay, professional plan. Then you put a number of albums and a number of years and how much revenue you, like basically if you earn revenue already, you can put it in. Or if you anticipate or you want to just see how much you will walk away with earning a particular amount, you click calculate, and that'll tell you, okay, here's the price per album if they charge per album. Here's the annual fee if they charge an annual fee. And then here's the amount of streams you would need to recoup the cost of what you're paying them. So the cost of what you're paying them is split between streaming revenue, sales revenue, and content ID revenue. So it's split between these things. So it's like a percentage of streaming revenue contributes to the total, a percentage of sales revenue contributes to the total, and a percentage of content ID revenue contributes to the total. So this is about 67% for streams, 31%, I believe, for sales, and like 2% for content ID. So you would need 11,164 streams to recoup or to contribute to the recouping of $49.99, 16 sales, 1,000 content ID views, right? And that will earn you collectively $49.99. So if you earned $100, you will walk away with $50 in profit and you would lose $49.99. You know, now you expand that out to a number of years and you say, okay, well, let's say things stay the same over 5 years. If things stay the same over 5 years, negative, you lose $149.95 because you end up paying out $249 or whatever have you. So it's like you can see and basically do projections and see, okay, well, how much would I pay out if X? You know, to kind of like do like cost basis analysis and all sorts of stuff like that. So that's what I constructed, man. And I'm planning to build more tools, like another, not a calculator, but like something that allows you to select things like what the, like do comparisons for digital distributors. Like rather than you having to wait for me to do videos, which I'll still do, you will be able to come to a web page and pick TuneCore and then pick another distributor to view what the comparisons are. And I'll have like my take on which one I feel like is better and why. And then you could just read that and say, okay, well, damn, this here's Gift take on it. And not have to be like, yo, Gift, can you tell me? Or whatever have you, because the information is right there for you. Now, yeah, let me see what's going on with y'all good people. Yeah, and it's a link to that in the description box. All right, y'all. So let me shout out my good people, man. NRG, what up, my guy? We got Darian, the street poet. What up? Long distance traveler, my guy, here in the building. Good to see you, man. Always. Adam Murphy, what up? CJ Fakay, what's good? Naughty Jackal, what up? Anomaly Studios, what's good? What's good? So, what's y'all take on this National Music Publishers Association lawsuit, Spotify slashing mechanical royalties? What's y'all take on this, man? Where do y'all stand on this? And also feel free to talk about anything else you guys want to chat about, man. Let me know. Word up. So NRG says, need a Spotify boycott. I mean, yeah, it would make sense, but I mean, listen, you got to coordinate something like that, and not everybody is suffering. You got a lot of people that's making money, you know? And I mean, with the recording artists, like, you got to understand, Spotify, I mean, record companies take about 80% of the revenue from most of these artists when it comes to streams, you know? And a lot of the established acts, it's about like a 50-50 split. So this streaming revenue is really like irrelevant to most of these artists. They make their money performing and basically building a name. So they go and do social media and make sure everybody knows their name and their face, and then they try to move into acting or modeling or sponsorships, promoting stuff, you know, selling features, things of that nature, and they make their money, you know, direct, where it's like, hey, I get booked, I go do this show, I get paid, you know, I'll do this walkthrough, I get paid, I got my Instagram account, I got these followers, I take money to do sponsored posts, and that's where they're making their money through stuff like that. So it's like the streaming money, that's like nothing. That's going to recouping what they got paid up front, you know, their advances and stuff like that. And once they recoup that advance, they're going to dig themselves back into the hole because they're going to take another advance, you know, so they're not subject to the same things that we are. So that's why it's difficult to get like a consensus where everybody's like, we need to boycott, because it's like everybody can agree, like, damn, streaming revenue is crazy. You're only getting 0.003%, but it's like, well, I'm not really impacted by it. I'm still making money. I'm all right, you know? So it's like only artists that are dependent on streams would really care. And to that effect, it's like if you're dependent on streams, then you don't really have much, because if you have any kind of following, which streams would signify you have, then you would be making money elsewhere too. So that's the thing where you have even the indie artists that you would say, okay, well, this might matter to you. They are making money because they have fans and they can sell music direct to fan. Even though those fans don't need to buy the music, they love them, they support them, so they can say, hey, buy my music if you care about me, and those fans will, and they can make enough doing that they don't feel like they're being really all that impacted by Spotify's revenue games, you know? NRG says the calculator is a brilliant piece of work. Someone big in the industry will be offering you a gig, by the way. Patent it. I mean, yeah, man. I throw a TM up on there, man. I mean, at the end of the day, the nature of the internet is mimicry. So I completely anticipate somebody to kind of like duplicate whatever it is I'm doing, you know. That's just the nature of it, man. Like a lot of the stuff that I talk about here is like people pick apart and put in their videos. It's just what it is, man, you know. But it's like with patents and stuff, patents restrict ingenuity and creativity. And also the same thing I tell you guys about copyrights. These things do not offer you protection. They just offer you a measure of basically a way to respond, right? Where somebody steals your stuff and then you can take them to court and sue them, right? But if you don't have money to pay lawyers to go to court, then all you can do is be mad. The same way you would be if you didn't have a trademark. So you go and you spend money to trademark something or to patent something or to copyright something, somebody steals it, you don't have money to pay lawyers to take them to court and sue them for it. You in the same boat that you was in if it wasn't copywritten or if it wasn't trademarked or if it wasn't patented, because that's the game. The game is a money game. You know, it ain't about whether you have those things, it's about whether you have the money to protect it. And that is by design, you know. That is by design, to prevent some poor person with no money from being able to protect their content. So a rich person can come take whatever the hell they want, and the poor person can only punch the cloud because they can't afford to do anything about it. Does the Spotify listener being a paying subscriber or not paying, does it affect how much they put out? Adam Murphy. I mean, yeah, you earn less from an ad support, a listener that's on the ad supported tier versus what you earn from listeners on the premium tier. Now, that very well could change, because if Spotify really invests heavily into the ad portion of their platform and start attracting, let's say, TV advertising revenue, then yeah, what you earn from ads might outweigh what you earn from premium subscribers. So you look at something like TV, and there's something like the Super Bowl, these big events where there's like billions of dollars generated in one day from the Super Bowl, this big event. If Spotify was able to replicate that, then yeah, advertising would make you more money. Now, this is the reason why we have Spotify now making this push into visual content, where they have Canvas and they're adding music videos and they're allowing artists to add video notes and stuff like that. They want users to be looking at the screen. They want them to look at the screen, because right now Spotify ads are audio ads that are for layback listening. So people have Spotify on and they're doing something else. Their phone isn't in their hand. They're not scrolling like they are on Instagram, and they're not staring at the screen like they are with the TV. So Spotify is on and somebody's working out or jogging or cleaning or something like that. So you hear an ad and it's more just like awareness, right? The brand just trying to get you to hear the brand over and over, the brand name over and over again, hoping that it penetrate and that, you know, you give them consideration because you remember the name. But it's not direct action, because you're not staring at the phone where you could click and immediately take action. So by adding video content, now they will have users looking at the screen. So you'll be watching videos, looking at video clips, and if they pop up an ad and that ad is like, click this link to go and buy this product, you can do it. So their advertising platform has advanced now. Now they got pixels for you to be able to integrate conversion tracking. So they're definitely trying to lean more into the visual aspect for the purpose of attracting greater ad revenue from advertisers. Anomaly Studio says, thanks for the heads up. As usual, this pattern of taking advantage of people is almost on all platforms and apps. Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. It ain't like, you know, you can escape it. I mean, you know, everybody's kind of like engaging in it. So this is like where, I mean, technically you need a new centralized hub where everybody can go to. But like I said again, people have the hits that they want to hear. So it's like people create a platform that caters to indie artists, but the indie artists don't have the clientele. So, hey, I could build a platform and say, come add your music to my platform. We're going to pay you 80% of the revenue that it generates. But it'd be 80% of what? You know, damn near nothing, you know, whereas because nobody's coming there really. And that's the problem with all of these indie platforms. Nobody's really there. NRG says, I get that, but it's like Spotify is trying to keep a big unnecessary piece of the pie. It's greed. That's what it always is. Corporate greed. You look at what these executives make, man, these guys are cashing in shares for like $100 million, stuff like that. You know, what Spotify is doing right now is this is where venture capital and all of that stuff come in play, because these companies a lot of times be propped up by venture capital and then they move on to becoming publicly traded companies. And when they become publicly traded companies, all these companies care about is news that signals that the company is in good standing. Not even if like the company can actually be in bad standing, but if it's showing promise through news and announcements and stuff like that, they could cause people to buy more shares, which would drive the price per share up. And news of saving money makes people think, oh, this company is on the right track. So Spotify slashes jobs. Share prices go up. Spotify slashes revenue it's going to pay to artists. Share prices go up. Spotify slashes revenue it's going to pay to songwriters. Share prices go up. And that's all that matters, is whether that share price continues to increase. If Spotify makes a move and the share price declines, then it would reconsider that move. But as long as that line continues to go up and stays up, they don't care. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. So it is what it is, yo. So, I mean, you guys could check out our sponsor. You know, we got a link to them in the description box. DPM Distribution, man. Good distributor, good people, man. Friend to Pay Us No Mind. As always, you guys got links to all of the products and services that we recommend with discounts and all of that stuff. The calculator is a link to that as well. You guys can check me on Substack. Make sure you go there, subscribe, so you can get emails whenever I do my musings and whatever have you, man. You know, y'all can hit me up on Instagram at Pay Us No Mind on Instagram, at Pay Us No Mind on Twitter, payusnomind@gmail.com if you want to email me, right? As always, this is Gift signing off. Pay Us No Mind. Peace, good people. One. Y'all be good out there. Do 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 do.